All right, well, welcome to this week's Q&A Live. I'm so happy and excited to have you. My name is Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Dissertation, and our goal is to help doctoral students like you write in your dissertation in record time. And so I'm looking forward to having this conversation and really thinking about the ways that we can help get you done and get you to the finish line. One of the things I want to start off with today is that we messaged and emailed our text message community about any questions that they had. And so one of the things that popped up and a question that came up, I want to share with you all and have a conversation about, because I think it's important as we consider, how are we going to ensure that a student like yourself makes it through. And so one of the questions we had, and this is a special question from Jesselyn. So thank you so much, Jesselyn, for the question. And sorry, give me a second to pull the question up because I think it's a really good one and something for us to consider as we are thinking about trying to finish the dissertation. And so the question was, Jesselyn writes, she said, this question concerns strengthening the rigor and ethical integrity of my target population and sampling strategy. My sampling strategy and target population were approved in 2024. Site authorizations from 4 churches located within 1 county in a rural region were specifically stated in the narrative by country and region, okay? The plan included recruiting a sample of African American ministry leaders from each of the 4 churches, totaling approximately 20 participants. The question is, does personally knowing 2 of the pastors and a few ministry leaders from 1 church be perceived as biased or based primarily on availability? And while I do not have a relationship with any of the pastors, I am acquainted with one. Could possibly knowing a participant raise concerns about proper power dynamics or perceived influence, or about the pastor's administrative authority over the ministry leaders and lay ministers? Additionally, does limiting the setting to 1 county make participants more easily identifiable, potentially affecting confidentiality? Jesselyn, this is a great question and something to consider. I would say because I'm assuming and knowing a little bit about your work, your study was qualitative in nature. As a qualitative researcher, you're not as concerned with this bias, if you will, from the engagement with your participants. I think though, my short answer is no, I don't think it's an issue. What I think you do have to do is, as just being a sound researcher, is actually just to state, the reasons why you may be had communication with this person, explain, I know 2 of these people and here's how I know them. So as a qualitative researcher, you just put all of your information out there, and then that way you can determine what the best route would be for figuring out, how to best, interact with your participants. So it's quite common that you may know someone if you're doing qualitative work, depending on the type of study that you're engaging in. The whole difference is you just acknowledging that. I don't think it's an issue. And honestly, just one bit of support and strategy I would give you from my experience interviewing people that I actually know, because I've done this in some of my work before. Sometimes the people I know actually give me the worst data. And here's why. A lot of times with participants, right? If they know you and you have some type of relationship, when you ask them a question, their response is already assuming you know all the backstory. And a lot of times there's backstory that you actually don't know that would help give you context to the answer. Whereas if you were meeting with a stranger, they'd be like, all right, let me tell you what happened first to understand why I'm responding in this particular way. So I've had some instances with people that I've interviewed that I've known where the data wasn't as rich than it was from strangers. So that would just be my only caveat for you as you're thinking through, this question around, how do I deal with the bias? And this is something, again, that you can write about. And I would just look into some qualitative, textbooks and qualitative studies that describe and touch on bias, because they're, again, not concerned with it, but it's always this idea of making sure that you are being explicit in terms of stating how you know someone and what that might look like. And so, Justin, I hope that helps you as you think through that question. I'm just going to make sure I caught all the question component. Oh, yeah, the last part you said, additionally, does limiting the setting to 1 county make participants more easily identifiable, potentially affecting confidentiality? That's also another important question that you add to that. And Justin, what I would say for you is that limiting the setting does not necessarily do that. What I would suggest is that, and this is probably going to be required by your university IRB, the Institutional Review Board office, they're probably going to require you to have pseudonyms for all of the participants and all of the information that could be identifiable. So if you in this case, for a study like yours, you just mask all of the counties. And I think as long as you do that and you mask the names of your participants, so you give them pseudonyms, I think you should be fine. Unless there's something unique about the particular people you're interviewing, where they either do something very unique or they have a unique approach where someone could easily identify them. Then sometimes you have to kind of figure out what is the best way to protect their identity in terms of providing confidentiality. So, Ms. Jesselyn, I hope this helps as you think through that question. But again, thank you so much. And that was a question to our text message community. And so if you ever have questions like this, I'd love to talk with them through them with you on the show. And so if you have them, make sure that you're a part of our text messaging community. And if you're not, I want to give you some ways to join our text message community. So if you do this, if you text the word elevate, ELEVATE, if you text it to 301-701-2466. If you do that, you'll get access to the Elevate Your Academic Writing training, and you will join our community. And we do send text messages on Sundays for affirmations, as well as when we have new episodes like this that come out, or if we're doing something live like today, we're actually going to have a student guest that's going to join, and we're going to have some kind of dialogue and Q&A about their dissertation. That all happens within our text message and email community. So if you're not part of it yet, make sure all you have to do is text hashtag Elevate to 301-701-2466. You get access to a free training, and you become part of the community. So make sure that you do so. Now, I know folks are just tuning in, and just let me know in the comments, where are you coming from? What you working on for your dissertation? Again, we love to hear from folks and know where people are and what you all are doing. So please let us know in the comments so that we can build community with one another. I'll give folks a second to go ahead and drop in where you're coming from, what your dissertation is focused on. Because again, I'm hoping that we are able to find folks that are doing similar work that we can build and, have some opportunity to work with. But thank you to folks that are dropping in right now. One of the things I'm going to get to next that I want to share with you all is that we're going to start incorporating folks to actually come on live and talk about their work and like us have some conversation. Because again, I want this to be responsive to really the needs of what you all have. I know some of you all may not be able to work with us in our programs, and so I want to have different opportunities for us to engage. And so before I bring on our student guest for the evening, I do want to let you all know that we've been getting a lot of questions from folks about writing the literature review and really preparing to get that literature review right for your dissertation. And so we have a workshop coming up at the end of the month around writing the literature review. And so if you're someone who is in need of support with the literature review in particular, if you go to this website, titled www.thedonedissertation.com/workshop, it'll take you right to the page for our upcoming literature review workshop on February, I believe, the 25th. And so you have all the details there, and it includes access to a limited time replay. And so I hope you all get a ticket, and look forward to joining you all to talk about the literature review at our upcoming workshop. And again, you can go to www.thedonedissertation.com/workshop. Now, what I wanted to do, again, is to bring a guest on. And so we have our good friend Shirley here with us today to talk about her dissertation, and we're going to kind of strategize and have some on-the-ground coaching and support. And Shirley, I'm going to bring you on. First thing, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
You
you.
can hear me? Okay. I'm going to put my headphones on. I'm having some feedback. It's just on my end. I know it's not your end at all. And so give me 1 second.
Okay.
And this is live, y'all. Sometimes these things happen when you're working through the tech, and then I started to notice, man, I'm getting the feedback already. So we're going to work through this and get this solved real quick, and then we will get into the Q&A. And if folks that are watching, if you can hear Shirley, let us know in the comments that you can hear her as well, because we just want to make sure, again, that this is the audio is working for you all. All right, let's see. And so, Shirley, can you still hear me now?
I
No?
can't
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay. Trying to work through this audio. It's the first time I'm doing it where I bring people in on Zoom, and so just working through some of these little kinks.
Okay.
Okay, they can hear both of us. Perfect. All right, thanks, Renee. So my first question for you, Shirley, if you could tell folks a bit about where you are in your dissertation process right now, just to give folks the rundown in terms of where you are, where you're a student at, and where you are in your process and what your dissertation is about.
Well, I attend Miami University. Right now, I'm in a dissertation proposal stage, struggling with the lit review. And my topic is around retired Black women teachers and how they can support early career teachers in urban public schools. I can't hear
And
you
so for you
again.
so far, when
Okay.
you've been writing your dissertation, you say the literature review is the place where you've been stuck. What about the literature
Yes.
review in particular has been the place where it's been the hardest, the challenge for you?
The challenge for me is just finding the support out there, literature out there to support my topic. And there's not very much literature out there about retired Black women teachers. So
Okay.
I've just been like studying just Black women teachers in general instead of, retired Black women. So that
Okay.
that has been the toughest.
What is it that, in terms of the Black women retired teacher, that you're trying to learn more about?
Is that how we need Black women retired teachers like to come back into the classroom. I've been looking like, how it was back during segregation days and how Black women were active in the community before Brown versus Board of Education and how
Mm-hmm.
all that changed once everybody was fired and everything. So just getting back to where we were and
Okay.
when we were thriving.
Okay. And what's your research question? Sorry, a couple of things I need to ask, and then we can dive into some strategy on the lit review and how to think through finding the right literature.
Well, my research question, it keeps changing.
Okay. Okay. That's fair.
It does, but how can we support early career teachers in urban public classrooms? Like, how can Black retired teachers support early career teachers in urban public classrooms?
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So we need to work on that question just a little bit to get it tight. So
Yeah,
I
we
think
do.
then once from there, then you'll know the literature will be easy to point to. And so
Hmm.
and this is sometimes how I think through. And again, we won't get to the literature, but these are some of the pieces first you got to back into. So
Yeah,
let's say we conduct this study. I'm assuming you want to interview current teachers about how they work with retired teachers, or you want to talk to retired teachers. Like who is it that you envision this study? Like what do you plan to do carrying out a study like this?
I envision to talk to retired teachers and get them to share their shared experiences. And I also want them like to bring artifacts to the interview, like do a little photo elicitation where they can show like the students that they had back in the day, any lesson plans, just to how was their class when they were in the classroom.
Okay. And then by doing that, what is it that you want to see? You collect all this data, you get the photos, you do these interviews.
Mhm.
What is it that you're trying to get at from these teachers by the end of doing that work with them?
By the end of doing that work is being able to share their experiences and then like something that I could share with the early career teachers that I am currently working with as a mentor to help them become stronger leaders in their classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I'm writing as you're talking. I'm writing this down because I'm trying to figure out how do we back into the fact that we're going to talk to retired teachers. Essentially, it's almost like you're trying to gain at, like what lessons can we learn from successfully retired teachers that can help
Yeah,
inform
early career
early
teachers.
career teachers.
Yeah,
So a couple of ways to, because the question is still a little broad, but a couple of things to
yeah,
consider is like, is a particular area of focus, like, because lessons learned can be so many different things. So is it that you want to focus on pedagogical things like strategies that they implemented? So what are some pedagogical strategies that these successfully retired teachers have implemented to then back into the that can help early career teachers? So like I'm trying to figure out, there may be an aspect, right? And that's where we can like go deeper on. That might be a way to help take a broad topic, make it a little bit narrower. Is like figuring out, is there a part of their journey that you want to know more about specifically? Whether
mhm,
it's like their pedagogical strategy, it could be something around how they build relationships with their students. Like you got to figure out what the
mhm.
angle is.
Yeah.
And I don't know for
I'm
you right
writing that
now.
down. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead, please take that down, y'all. This
Mhm.
is in real time, so Shirley's getting this all in real time. So don't, she didn't have time to prepare or anything like that, or what we were going to talk
I
about.
sure
So
did, but I appreciate that. I'm taking notes.
no problem. because that's going to be important, because we can figure out then it'll help us narrow our literature down a little bit.
Yes.
And I think for you, part of your argument you got to make is like, what is so special about these retired teachers?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite simple, but I'm just saying that's probably going to be something that folks are going to be looking for. Is like, all right, why are we essentially looking at folks who have now left the field to inform us about what's happening with teachers who are currently in it? And just so you know, you got people, a couple of folks have chimed in. I'm looking at some of the comment. Let me see, pull it up on screen here. I'll move it around. Somebody on YouTube said, that sounds wonderful. Wish you the best of luck on your journey. So folks like that topic. So that topic's resonating.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's motivation.
So folks, it's resonating with folks. So thank you so much. Is it let's see. Elixir. Sorry, I can't read all this, very small on my end, but thank you so much for the comment. I appreciate it. So, okay. So yeah, I think that's going to be important, because then we can back into the literature review, because it's like you said black, let me just make sure, black women teachers. So there is a lot of studies on black women teachers. So it's like, that's going to be a literature based, like what's the experience of black women teachers? And then probably from the current literature with current teachers, you might just say, all right, what is happening currently to black women teachers that if we understood those who have successfully been in the field for a number of years, how have they, what is it about what they have that could really help inform these newer teachers? That's going to be, as you're reading that literature on current teachers, that's probably the question I'd be asking myself. What is it that these veteran teachers can tell me that the literature current hasn't already situated about black women teachers? Mm-hmm. And Taylor, I see your question. You say, is this a open Q&A? Yes, it is. So these are just Q&A. If you're a part of our community, I sent the email out a little while ago about being a guest on the show. So if someone actually captured it and got to the email, if you're on an email list and you reply, you still have time to be on the show. I was going to take 5 folks for today, so stuff slots. But yes, if you have a question, Taylor, you can drop it in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer it. So yeah, now I guess so far when we think about your work in terms of lit review, one, I would say come to our lit review workshop that we're having at the end of the month. I'll send you a special link for being a guest on the show for that.
Okay.
So just I'll get back with you on email after tonight. And
all right.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of one, knowing the literature review writing process, but then for you finding the literature. So I'm assuming you read on black women teachers. What else have you been reading to help inform the review?
The book that I've been relying heavy on is Black Teachers Teaching. It's Black Teachers on Teaching by Michelle Foster.
Okay, yeah.
I've been reading her book to go back, like to talk about Brown versus Board, Jim Crow's Pink Slip, Fugitive Pedagogy.
Okay, yep.
I think that's I think it's Jarvis Givens. I've been reading so much stuff that all the titles are running together, but reading those books and different articles.
Okay.
Vanessa Siddle-Walker, and she talks about like, I think it was like a town in North Carolina that they had like a lot of Black teachers working together with administrators. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you've been reading, so you have a good grasp of what's happening. What do you feel like you're missing? I'm just curious, as if you say you're missing something. So what is it that you feel you're missing?
I just don't feel like I am getting a lot of information specifically about Black women retired teachers. I feel like that. I just feel like something is lacking. Something is not connecting.
Okay.
Because sometimes I feel like I'm going like down a rabbit hole. I'm going too far in on things that's not related to my topic. So just like staying within my topic and not going to the left or to the right or going down the wrong.
I think this is why then getting that research question tight will help you stay focused. That way it guides your literature search. So a lot of times if you feel like I'm just reading a lot of stuff, but I'm not sure how to bring it all together, think about your research question as a guide for you, right? And so you would use the research question essentially to write your literature review. Like basically, what do scholars currently say about this particular research question I'm trying to explore? And then that way you could talk about the historical aspect of Black women teachers. You can talk about what's currently happening, and then you can then make the argument, make the connection between, while we know this what's happened in their value in things historically, and we know what's happening currently for Black women in the classroom, there's a disconnect. I'm assuming that's what the argument you might be trying to make. I don't know. That's what in my head is what I would see the argument to be. And then you just have to make it clear. But first you have to show what's happened historically, what's happening current, and then how do you see these Black women veteran teachers or retired teachers to be the bridge between the two?
Okay. Yeah.
And so you may have to lean on other places, or this studies on veteran teachers. So again, it may not be specific on Black women veteran teachers or retired. And that's, again, a terminology thing too, right? So I don't know if you are fine with using veteran versus retired, because I guess in your mind, do you consider you want retired because you consider them a veteran, like they've been in the field a long time and then have left? Is that why you're using that term? Okay.
Yeah.
So you may want to look at Black women veteran teachers. I know there's some work with, I had a couple clients recently. I'm trying to think of a couple of people. Sonia Douglas, I think Horsford has some of that work on Black women, more on the leadership side. Sorry, I'm trying to think of these pieces, and then just because one of our coaches, Dr. Varela, and I wrote a piece about Black women school leaders and their use of culturally responsible school leadership, but we touch on the literature around Black women educators. And so that piece, it was published in 2020. Let's see. Sorry, it's 2023.
That's okay.
I will find the particular citation for you.
Okay.
And what I'll do, let me share my screen. So you'll be off the screen for a second, but you'll be able to see what I'm looking at.
Okay.
And then I'll show you. So I'm going to go to my Google Scholar for real quick. And this is how sometimes, I got to find some of the pieces I've written because I can't remember them. It's been a number of them. Let's see. 2023. Oh, there we go. Black women principles and expressions of culturally responsible school leadership during crisis.
Okay.
And if I put this link in the, maybe not the PDF, but if I put the link to this in the chat, I think it will show up everywhere else. And I think this will be to you in our chat. Cool. Let me know if that showed up. If not, I will. Oh yeah, if you look in the chat.
It did.
Okay, perfect. You should have it now. Perfect. So, that might be a good start. And then just what I would just do, and again, I'll actually go back to the screen if I were you. Like, I would just start searching. Let me pull I might probably look at Black veteran teachers, because like if we do Black retired teachers, you probably might not find much. And so I don't know if you read this one. Oh, Floyd, you ever read Dr. Beecham's work?
No.
Oh yeah, you need to read Dr. Beecham, Floyd Beecham. Life Learning and Legacy, Retired Black Educators in the Quest for Education. Check out some of his work.
Okay.
There's a piece here on conceptualizing Black female teacher pipeline. So yeah, you just might do a little searching. Retired teachers of color. So it's not on Black women specifically, but you may have to do some digging around. But these are 3 pieces right here that could be helpful. So that's all your search criteria would be: Black retired teachers. I think you can get a good start there.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I hope that was helpful as you think through the process, because there's no need to, sometimes it's like figuring out what's the right term, right? So sometimes retired might be, that's why I was wondering if people are writing about retired teachers versus veteran. And so I think if you even include veteran, it may broaden your scope a little bit more, where you can find some more specific work. Even though it doesn't say retired per se, but it at least is getting you around the same realm of what you need.
Yes.
Cool. What other questions you got before? I want to make sure, I know I have you on for a little bit, so I just want to make sure this is helpful.
That's like that is my biggest struggle. I feel comfortable with my methodology,
Cool.
and I think why I'm so comfortable with that is like I'm excited about getting to the research
Yeah.
and getting to interview people. So that's been pretty cool. But this literature review has been a beastie beast.
No, I understand. I understand completely. That's why we're doing the lit review workshop at the end of the month. We hear from like so many folks, right, that the lit review is like the bane of their existence. And actually, I like writing literature reviews. It's just about having a process
Really? I
to
ain't never
write
known
them.
nobody say they like it.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Never.
You just gotta have a process. That's all. I got a system to do it. I think once you understand the process, I then think it will start to make sense about how to connect the literature together. Because like you're on the phase right now where you're like reading the literature, then it gets to a point where I got to take all this stuff and make a storyline out of it, and make some sense of how does it all come together. And that's what we're going to. I'm going to show you a way to do that during our workshop. So that'll be, I think, be extremely helpful for you in terms of the writing
And I
process.
like the video that you just did where you talked about summarizing versus synthesizing. That was helpful too, and especially the part that you talked about like finding your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too, because I always felt like with the lit review, like I'm just regurgitating what somebody else said. So I appreciate you doing that video as well, because I was taking notes on that too.
No, no problem. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And I think in that video I give an analogy like a music artist. I talk about Beyonce, like how when her first album came out, she sounded like A.
Mm.
Marie. And like if people, I know some Beehive people probably watching. Trust me, go listen to that first Beyonce album, and then listen to A. Marie's album. I forget which one it is. She got it's like a dark background. Listen to A. Marie's album. It's like 2000. I think it was the 2000. Oh, I can't forget the year. I'm gonna find it. But listen to that album and Beyonce's first album, and it's the same sound. I was just like, wait a minute, what's happening? But then by the second, third album, she developed her own voice and she was doing her own thing. But sometimes it takes us a while to do that as writers. I had writers I relied on, and I used their voice to kind of help me frame mine until I got comfortable with how I wanted to write and wanted to sound. And so it's just a process we're all going through. There's nothing perfect about it at all. We're all trying to figure it out.
Right.
Cool. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right.
I appreciate it so much.
No problem. Well,
I
thank you.
really, really do.
No, thank you so much for dropping in. I really appreciate y'all and appreciate you. And for folks that are in the still on in the comments, please drop Shirley some love, because it takes a lot of courage to come on and talk about the work that, and as you can see, is amazing research. So I'm glad that you're doing the work that you're doing. I just hope you stay encouraged to do so. And I will follow up with you with the link for the workshop. And yeah, hope to see you at the end of the month at the Lit Review workshop.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you. Well, again, I hope that was helpful as a way just to think through and get encouragement, and just recognize we're all trying to figure out how to navigate this dissertation process. And so, again, we're open for questions. And so if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. And then again, if you ever want to be on live like Shirley was just on, we'd be happy to have you on as a guest as well. And thank you so much, Shirley. Okay, well done, Shirley, from Renee, CEO Done Dissertation. And we have Alex said good luck and Godspeed for you. So you got some folks rooting for you to get this thing done. So that's good stuff. But what questions do y'all have that are watching? Feel free, again, to drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to take those questions on. And again, while folks are populating their question, this is just a reminder that we are hosting a literature review workshop coming up at the end of the month. And so if you want to learn more about the workshop, you can go to www.thedonedissertation.com/workshops, where I'll show you all a process in order to take from just searching for literature to then being able to bring it together, create a cohesive story, to then learning how do I then insert myself into the scholarly conversation. And so we'll be talking about that during the workshop. And so, yeah, the floor is open for y'all if you have questions. I know, Tori, you were asking if this is an open Q&A. Yes, it is. So feel free to ask your question. Now, Alex, if you're still on, if you have a question about what you're working on, feel free to drop it in the comment. I'd be happy to answer and, yeah, just have some conversation. And again, I'm looking to have folks come on live. I think it's helpful. It's just good to hear from other students, and you can recognize that, you know, some of the insights from what we talked about today with Shirley around the literature review might be extremely helpful. Again, everybody has different types of questions. And then we start out today's episode with a question from Jesselyn around methodology and thinking about bias and how that works out as a researcher. So again, I hope those types of things are helpful as you are thinking through this. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell. And then also make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn as well, because we put a lot of our content there. And all right, I see a comment coming up from Alex. You say, trouble deciding my topic for my proposal. One topic may not have enough research and requires me to learn new language. Or I say Asia 20. So let me know, what is the topic? And then we could talk through how to think about finding. I'm not sure if you mean new language, meaning you have to find different literature in the area. I'm not sure what you mean by new language, or literally having to learn a new language to be able to study the topic. So let me know what you're meaning, and then I'd be happy to talk through what that might look like. Because I don't find sometimes when we have a topic that doesn't have enough research, sometimes we just have to think about it differently. Not necessarily it not being enough literature, it's about how do I frame what I'm studying. And so while we wait for you to populate your question, I'll show you what I mean. I'll bring my board up, and we could talk through, like, if I'm someone where I have a topic where it's understudied, and I'll give an example from my own work, because this has happened to me as a researcher, right? And so one of the areas I study is on teacher diversity. And so part of the work in my area has focused on the teacher experience. And so what's happened, that work has been very instrumental, has been very helpful, but I wanted to figure out, how do I make a unique contribution? And so what ends up happening is that there's this whole body of work that was going on at the time that kind of focused on teacher recruitment, teacher retention, teacher experience. And so there's this literature that happening on teacher recruitment. Right, and I had learned the scholars. I had been writing about it myself and been making a contribution. Then, along with teacher recruitment, there's kind of like another conversation that was happening around diversifying the teacher and school leader workforce. And so part of my work tried to figure out the intersection of those things. And so we have like teacher diversity. Then what ends up happening as I'm studying both of these, right? What ends up happening is I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I make a contribution? Because there was a lot of scholars talking about both, but they were kind of having these disparate conversations. And then what ends up happening is that I was interacting one time with some state policy makers, and they started talking about the hiring process. And when I was hearing, I was like, that's interesting, but I wonder what we know about the hiring process and what's happening for HR in school districts. And so then I started to get interested in HR hiring practices. And so I wanted to, in my work, study the kind of like the intersection, if you will. Let me find the green. I kind of wanted to focus on this area right here, where all of the work intertwine. But for a lot of folks, what ends up happening when we're doing this type of work, where we haven't thought through what are the intersecting bodies of work. We may be stuck on one body of work, where maybe we need to integrate multiple bodies of work to figure out what our topic and how to, pull it all together. And so this became important because there was research on teacher diversity, there was research on teacher recruitment, and there really wasn't much research on like HR's role in all of this, particularly in a school district environment. There was a lot of research that explored this within a within like a business and corporate environment in terms of diversifying their workforce, but the teacher thing wasn't there, in schools wasn't there. And so that's why I was able to make a unique contribution. So sometimes you have to think about your work when you're trying to encroach on a different topic that feels like it doesn't have a lot of work. It's like, can I take a step up from what I've been studying to figure out where does it intersect with everything else? And so it's just a matter of figuring out what does that look like and how you can, stay the course, if you will, with your topic. So it's not necessarily that you may not have a lot on the topics, it's figuring out what other places and other topics that are heavily studied can we bring in to kind of create the need for the work. And again, I hope that, Asia, you're able to drop your question in a little bit and give me a little more detail so then I can really provide more insight and detail. But again, I hope this is helpful as folks think through this. And then we have a video on our YouTube channel that focuses on how to narrow down your research topic. And so that might be a route to go as well in terms of that. And so, Asia, I see your response. You say, okay, thanks. Thanks for your example. Feast of presentation of the Lord in the Syriac tradition. I need to learn Syriac. Oh, or today I was looking at the. Okay. So yeah, that is something then you have to figure out how you're going to do that and immerse yourself in that, in that. Yeah, you have to immerse yourself in order to learn it if you want to keep that as your topic. So that would be very much unique in the unique way you have to do things. So that happens for folks. I just figure out if this is important to you and you want to do it, why not engage in it? And this is when having like a scholarly community around particular topics are helpful, because then you can figure out, are there other people who have done this and how do they go about doing it? And then reaching out to them and trying to get some community, have some dialogue and getting some support around these particular issues. But thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. All right, Renee, I see you have a question. You say, as I wrap up my dissertation, I have a lot of data that I would like to publish on that includes STEM identity of elementary students. What timetables would you give for publishing? Ooh, timetables on publishing. It is hard out here to get stuff published these days. I'm not going to lie to you, Renee. So I'm going to give it to you straight, because I'm someone who I write a lot of research and get things published a lot. And so the process these days is a lot slower ever since COVID, really. Because I think what happened during COVID is that people had all this time to write, and then there was an influx of articles to journals, but there wasn't enough reviewers. So I would say if there's any journal editors that are watching this, they know this to be a fact. And I used to be a journal editor, and so I know it's the truth. It is so hard to find quality reviews, and that actually slows down the process completely. It's not necessarily about the writing per se. It's about, can we find 3 reviewers to actually give us a solid review on the study in a, quote, timely fashion. Usually give us about a month or so to do the review. So what I would suggest for you is to look at articles that are already published to see what the timelines are. Some are better than others at listing them. And so like I'm going to go to my own Google Scholar to see maybe on some of my recent publications if they listed the time period. And so let's see. I just had this piece come out maybe about a week ago. Let me see if they have the timetable on this one. Sorry, I'm going to scroll in. So you can see what the timetable was. And I'll, again, zoom in a little bit more so, Renee, so you can kind of see that. So we wrote this paper. Shout out to my co-authors, David Blazer, Wenjing Zhao, Seth Gershenson, and Francisco. We worked on this piece and submitted it January of 2025. We then got a revise and resubmit around August. We turned it around, got it back through, and it got accepted in November, and the piece came out a week or two ago. So it came out, I think, end of January. It might have been even like a couple days ago, to be honest with you. So it took about a year from start to finish. And Renee, I actually would say that that's pretty quick. I got some pieces, I'll show you. I've had a couple of pieces over the years that took 2 years. I remember I was a student. in 2015. I had presented the paper with my mentor and another student who was an undergraduate. We all presented this study at the American Education Research Association conference in like 2015. I hadn't defended yet. That paper came out my second year as a faculty member in 2017. It took 2 years from start to finish. Because sometimes what you have to recognize is that you may have a lot of back and forth, a lot of revise and resubmits. Sometimes it could just take a while to get something out and published. And so you just have to be mindful that that may be the case for you, and that might happen. So the thing is, I'm not discouraging you for publishing. It's just being mindful and look at some of the pieces in terms of their time frame when they publish. Some journals are more explicit than others. Some journals will say it on their website. Hey, it takes us X amount of time to get an initial review. Whether that's 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. Some are very explicit, where others don't really tell you. So this is when having a network and a community of people to kind of help guide you in terms of what journals should you publish with. And if you have a journal in mind, we can look it up. But I don't know if that is something you're considering. But congratulations on being at the end and you're wrapping up the dissertation for sure. That's exciting. But yeah, Renee, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm glad it's helpful, and I just unfortunate that it takes so long. But it does take a while to get stuff published. This is why anything you see this year that comes out 2026, somebody probably wrote it in 24. I think the piece that just came out I showed you, I think we wrote it in 24. Yeah, we had to write in 24. We submitted in January 25. So think about it. And we did some of the data analysis starting back in 23. And so it takes a while. That's why sometimes it can be frustrating as a researcher or even as a practitioner who does research, that the research is always lagging behind what you're seeing in the field, because it truly is. Because a lot of times it takes so long to get something published, so by the time the work gets out, the problem changed. And that's my only gripe with how slow things take with like peer review research to come out. This is partly why, as well as a scholar, my hope for you all as you're watching this, when you think about your work, is that not only are you publishing the work in like peer review journals and those type of things, that's important, especially for the academy if you're trying to go that route, or even just to position yourself as an expert. I think it's helpful to have a couple publications just so you can have that credibility. But then I always just say, also take your work and write it in different forums. Put it, in places where folks who could use the research actually read. So it might be like places, for me, because I write a lot about doctoral students, it might be like Inside Higher Ed. I write pieces for them. Or maybe the Chronicle of Higher Education. Or for folks and maybe in the K-12 space, it might be Education Week. I've written in there before, trying to get to a K-12 audience. You have to figure out one of our folks, one of our guests in the Velocity, Dr. Gertrude Dantra, she talks about science communication. She wrote a piece for Nature. Like, you just got to figure out where your work needs to go, or Nature magazine, I should say, and you need to figure out where your work needs to go that the widest audience can get a hold of it. But if you're just waiting for journal articles, it's going to take a long time. So definitely you got to combine your strategy. But again, tonight we're doing live Q&A. So what questions do you all have? I'd be happy to answer questions. Thank you all so much for folks who are tuning in live. If you watch this on the replay, just drop a comment in there. Let us know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them on another episode. And again, if you're interested in actually being a live guest on the show, like our friend Shirley today, if you want to be a guest, I'll share with you how you can do that. And so all you have to do is, if you text the word and put the hashtag, you need the hashtag as well, Elevate. And you text that to, the number is 301-701-2466. I'll send you a text back. And sorry, y'all, that text color is horrendous, so I know that's not going to be good to be able to see that. So I'll remove that. But if you text us to this number, I'll be sure you'll get a link with a free training, and then you'll be part of our community. And then we send community texts out when we're going to do lives like this. And if you want to be a guest, you can feel free to respond. And again, it's hashtag Elevate to 301-701-2466. And so if you want access to a free training, please go ahead and just text that, and you'll be part of our community. And then again, when we have a new episode that we're going to do a live Q&A, I probably do this like every other week or so. When we have these come out and we're going to do these, I always reach out to our community to be guests. And so I'd love to have you on. All right, I see a question pop in. Alex, you say, I'm starting my doctorate and have very little understanding of the whole process. Where and how I start? I intend to write my dissertation on income disparity among corporations. So congratulations first on starting out. So there's a couple of things I would say when you're first starting out in your process. Like the first, I would say year, especially that first semester, is a whirlwind. Right now I'm teaching second semester, first year doctoral students at my own university. So I am a college professor and I'm department chair. So I do this as well as teach this to you all. And so we joked about it in class on Tuesday, talking about the whirlwind of like being a first year doc student. So it's a lot coming at you. What I would say that first year is to keep an open kind of eye out for what you want to study, and allow yourself the time to actually engage in reading the literature. I think that's really important. And not only reading, Alex, for content, but reading to understand, how do these people write? How do they think? Is really important, because my first year as a student, I struggled tremendously with the academic writing. And it's because I didn't understand what these people were trying to do. And I didn't understand what my professors were trying to get me to do. And it wasn't until I actually stopped and actually started to read a lot of the literature that it started to click in terms of how and what faculty were looking for in the writing. But I had to study great academic writers. So what I would suggest for you with your topic on income disparity among corporations, just start reading literature to get familiar with who are the researchers doing those types of work, that type of study. And then what I would be doing as I'm reading is thinking about, all right, what are they missing? And I continually ask myself that over and over again. It'll become crystal clear at some point, like, oh, they're talking about doing this type of analysis, or they're talking about these types of corporations, but they haven't considered looking at income disparity with this group of organizations. for instance, maybe they're looking at Fortune 100 companies, but they haven't considered small businesses, right? You got to figure out what the angle is, and that's what I would be doing. My first year, just reading and like really trying to understand the literature, and then engaging in writing and making sure that you're getting feedback and not being afraid of it. Things will get easier from there. But I hope this is helpful, and congratulations again on starting your doctoral program. It's a lot to it. There's a lot of stuff. And if you need to, look at all of our videos on this YouTube channel, because we got so much stuff about the kind of hidden curriculum of academia, what happens, from how to work with faculty members, how to think about the dissertation. I think some of those things will be very helpful. And then for you, Alex, I would suggest you grab a copy. I have a book called, let me see if I can get in the camera, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. It's a quick book, a quick read, but I think this I hear from a lot of students, reading this at the beginning actually helps them frame how they're going to approach their doctoral program, because they know some of the things that they're going to be looking for, and actually some of the practices in terms of having a daily writing routine and, mastering working with faculty members. I think some of the stuff that's talked in the book, in the lessons, can be very helpful for students starting out, so they know these things. And definitely for a student who's actually actively writing a dissertation. And so definitely, if you go to our website at thedonedissertation.com and you look at the books tab, you can grab a copy of it there. And I'll show you how to get to it. I'll share my screen and show you how to get to it as well. And if you get it from our website, what we do is that I will sign the book as well. If you get it from like Amazon, they send it to you. Amazon's like the book mafia. Just as a side note for y'all who want to write and publish books, Amazon takes 40%. If you buy books from Amazon charges the author, they take 40% of earnings. So just know that they have a whole side hustle in terms of getting money from the authors. And so what you do is go to books and courses when you get on our website. If you click on the books and courses tab, and then you'll see the second book there is the 14 Secrets, and you can just click on get the book and you can have access to it. So again, I hope that was helpful as you start thinking about, getting started, because there's a lot to it. And shout out to Renee, CEO of Done Dissertation. She's saying congrats on starting, Alex, and good luck. Yeah, we're rooting for you. We need more folks. That's why we're doing this work, because we see people get stalled at the dissertation process, and we just don't want y'all to do that. And so I'm hoping that some of these things I'm talking about now for you, Alex, can help you get ahead of things. And then as folks who are watching, as you're working through your dissertation, that you implement some of these strategies and get through this thing. And if you're struggling right now with your literature review in particular, we do have a workshop coming up. It's called the Find Your Gap Dissertation Literature Review Workshop. And if you want to learn more and secure your ticket to the workshop coming up at the end of February, you can go to www.thedonedissertation.com/workshop. And if you got into a point where you need some help and you need some coaching and you're working on your dissertation, we have a great program called the Velocity Coaching Program, which is dedicated to helping you actually write and defend your dissertation in record time. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, what you can do, I'll pull up my screen so I'll show you where to go, is you actually, to learn more about what we do there, you can go to velocitydissertation.com. And so if you go to velocitydissertation.com, you'll see a picture of my wife, Renee, CEO, and I, and you can learn more about our program and what we do and how we help you all get to the finish line of getting your dissertations done. And so make sure if you, again, need that support, you can definitely do that. You can learn more about the kind of some of the services and things that we have on our website. And then what you could do is just hit one of the green buttons that says schedule a consultation, and it'll take you to the application page. And then from there, you can schedule a consultation with us. All right, questions? Any questions? Other questions? I'm staying on probably for another about 10 minutes or so, because I have been talking a lot today, y'all. Like, today is one of my recording days. So earlier today, usually I record a month's worth of content. So today was like 8 videos. So a lot of talking today. And so I want to make sure we do this as well. And so I would love to hear if there's any questions, things I can help y'all with before we wrap up for today's episode. And again, it would do me a huge favor. You're watching this wherever you are, watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, share with a classmate, share it somewhere so that somebody can get some of this information, because I don't want folks to not have access to the information. What we do in our coaching programs then is actually just dive deeply into how we can help you all implement the strategies that are particular to your unique situation. All right, Alex, perfect. Thanks so much. Any questions? Again, you can drop the questions in the comments. Any other questions? And Shirley, I know you're still on the back end, so if you have any other questions, if you have a question, let me know, and I can bring you back on if you have another question that's popped up since we chatted. Do you have any more questions? Okay, gotcha. Perfect. All right. Let's see here. All right. We have someone who is, I'll be defending in November. Your videos have been very helpful. Congratulations. That's what's up. Congratulations on defending in November. So I'm assuming November from right now. The Truidine. What's your dissertation on? Let me see. Maybe somebody I know. I can't tell by the screenshot, the screen name, but by November. What's your dissertation about? Where are you at in the process? Because November, let's see, right now, February. So are you collecting data? Like, because that's a long time out. So I'm curious as to where you are in the process. And again, I'm glad the videos have been helpful. And if there's other topics that you all think would be very helpful for you, let us know. We're trying to be responsive, so Renee and I are keeping tabs on the questions you all ask in the text message community, along with the questions you all might submit in comments here. So let us know if there's particular things that you all are concerned about, and we'd be happy to do future kind of longer content, longer episodes, just focus on that particular topic. Perfect. Renee's all set for you, Alex, so we're good to go there. All right, executive threat response. I'm collecting data at the moment. Tell me more about that executive threat response. What does that mean? I'm sorry, because in my mind, we work with doctoral students in a lot of different fields, and so some terms when they're thrown at me, I'm trying to figure out what discipline is it, because the term means something different for each discipline. So let me know more about what is an executive threat? What does that referring to? Because in my mind, I have a couple of things. I'm thinking about government, like an executive from the government response, or are we thinking about like a CEO in terms of being an executive and they threaten someone and they're like, I'm curious. And so just let me know what the a little more insight might be. Again, we work with so many different types of students. These terms mean different things to different people. But yeah, y'all asking some great questions and y'all really having some great things to consider. And again, if you want to be part of our community, all you have to do is text the hashtag Elevate to 301-701, and I'll zoom this in a little bit, 2466. And again, it's 301-701-2466. Text hashtag Elevate. You'll be part of our text message community. And we do send these messages out for folks if they want to be a guest on the show, and or special opportunities like workshops and things like that that we only send to our community. So we love to have you all support and be connected with us. And so let a classmate know it as well. Don't be selfish and just keep it all for yourself. So bring a classmate. All right, I see now the Truidine. Let's see, Truidine. Our research examines how high-performing leaders respond when their effectiveness is perceived as a threat by senior executives, leading to marginalization through power and political dynamics. That is a great topic and very much a challenge for sure. And so I'm trying to think through, is there a particular high-performing leaders respond when their effectiveness is perceived as a threat? Is there a particular industry? Because that applies to everything. Like I work in higher education, I'm a leader. Like this could apply to my situation, but it may look very different than someone in a, I don't know, that is a CEO of like a manufacturing company versus it being in a different industry. And I wonder if that matters for you. It may not matter. You may be looking at executives across the various industries because you feel like the experience is very similar. Okay, and then you add on that you say, in how those leaders strategically navigate these environments to maintain performance, ethics, and team stability. Yeah, that's important. That's going to give insights for the business community for sure, because, and particularly for leaders, right? Because I know some folks who do like consulting with leaders who are like these type of folks and help them learn how to deal with like conflict resolution and transformation within organizations. And so like there's a lot of opportunity here from a business side, like after you finish, to engage in consulting. So that is really, it's a really impactful topic. And like we literally seen it. Renee and I, we had a business accelerator client where we're helping them like develop and they're trying to grow out their consulting practice. And that's what they were focused on. And they had traction because leaders are trying to figure out how to navigate some of what you're talking about here. And it can show up very differently, especially by race, gender, and other identities for sure. All right, Lily Thomas, you say, hey, I've been following you since I began my doctoral studies. I'm now writing my last 2 chapters, and I want to say thank you for all your content and workshops. Congratulations on getting to this point where you are trying to wrap this thing up. That is phenomenal. How is it going? Let us know about what your topic is, what you're writing about. Love to hear more. And thanks for attending the workshops and buying the book as well. I appreciate that for sure. All right, and the true dean, you say, okay, you said public sector and community serving institutional leadership. Okay. So that's you get a wide swath. So I'm curious to see as you're collecting data so far, are you finding that participants are willing to talk with you? And I wonder, is there a particular type of participant? Like, are they from a particular type of industry? I'm just curious. And then leadership roles, are you meaning someone who's like the CEO only, or is it like, are you having some distinction in terms of what that person looks like that you're going to be talking to? Because I could imagine that, like, say, a departmental leader has a very different perspective than possibly the CEO of a company, and so, or executive director of a nonprofit. So I'm just curious as to what level you're looking at. But this is cool, good stuff. Yeah, Renee, I agree. We're so glad the content has been helpful. Like, we're trying to, and Renee is putting the content together. So, like, when we do the videos on various topics, like the lit review, Renee helps put that all together. I execute and do you see my face, but Renee is the one doing and putting all the work together. So, as you all are seeing the content and it's hitting, you got to give Renee some love too. Renee gets the shout out because that's who's behind it all. Making sure, again, if folks who are coming to work with us, we hear what you all are saying. We work with so many students. We know what's happening. And so we always want the content to be responsive to where you all are. And Renee is capturing all that when we are working with our clients. All right. Other questions, things we can help y'all with? Again, I hope this was helpful. As you are thinking through getting these projects done, we want y'all to finish up. And one thing you can do for us as well, as you're watching this and you recognize that, hey, I might need some help. We're also working with the universities as well. So we have now supports where the university can help fund what you all are trying to, the coaching and support that you all might need with us. And so we have an institutional membership and packages now available. So if you want for us to come to a university to help you and all of your doc students, please reach out to us. If you go to our website, just shoot us an email. We'd love to help support you. And work with your institution. So we have those options as well, aside from just working with students individually. All right, I see some questions and comments have come in. Let's see where we are. Let's see, you said participants are willing to participate high performing mid to senior level specifically. Okay, cool. All right, and then Lily, you said, my topic is how Black women science teachers use technology to support their culturally responsive teaching for their Black and Brown secondary students. So this is why Shirley, that was on earlier, Shirley, now if you kind of see, this person has a topic that's very, not the same as yours, but in the same roundabout way. So this is how sometimes I find collaborative opportunities and kind of even seeing, and Lily, if you could drop in, who are some of the key folks that you're reading right now in the literature? Because I want to help Shirley as well, because there may be some people she might be missing or haven't considered reading about, since you're a little bit further along than she is at the moment. And so who are some of those key researchers you've been reading about Black women, just teachers generally, even science teachers? I'm curious because some of those authors might write about Black women teachers outside of science as well. And so just let us know in the comments. I'll bring it up and that'll be extremely helpful for Shirley. And Alex says, behind a great man, there is an even greater woman. Thank you, Renee. Looking forward to speaking with you. Indeed. Renee is the truth, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know I'm the lucky guy. And just so y'all know, just small backstory with us. We run the company. We've been married now going 15 years almost, and we met our first year in college because we have the same birthday, same day, same year. Just so y'all know backstory. So, sometimes you just find your person, and it's crazy how things happen. And we just happen to be the only Black folks. Some of these PWIs, there ain't much Black folks that go to university. I'm trying to change that. And so partly y'all getting done becoming professors can help that. And then also the work that I'm doing with younger students, getting them ready to go to college is part of that. But Renee and I were in this group. We're one or two Black folks, and we're like, hey, who are you? Who are you? It's black people. We get to see each other. And so that's how we met, and we've been together ever since. All right, Lily, I see a comment say I conducted a mixed method study. Cool. So are there any researchers, Lily, that you would recommend that someone writing about black women teachers should read? Any names that you would, even just put the last name, we can find the rest from there. But any names, that would be extremely helpful. All right, he said, Easily S said, Charlotte, he said, I really appreciate the weekly affirmations. They really motivate me from week to week. I look forward to that ding on Sunday. So that's cool stuff. I'm glad that helped. That's helpful for you. And Renee puts those together. So shout out to Renee when you all see those. Those are her creation. I initially started this maybe like 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. I can't remember, Renee, how long it was. But we started doing these just as a one-off, right? And someone was like, I really like these. And we're like, all right, well, let's keep doing them. And I'm glad that they're helpful. And so if you get our text messages and like you get those affirmations, if they're helpful to you, just shoot us a message back. We actually see the messages, and so we just like to know that it's actually landing with the students. And so we get emails like when people are finishing they're done with their dissertation, like, oh my God, I love those affirmations. But we don't hear from you while you're getting them. So let us know so we know that we can keep doing them. It helps us make sure that we're responsive to what you all need. Oh, no problem, Jesselyn. I'm glad. I'm hoping you saw. I addressed your question at the beginning of the episode, so I hope you were able to catch that at the beginning, or just rewind and go back. And yeah, I think you'll be fine in terms of collecting data with people that you know. I don't see it as an ethical issue, but it's more so when you're writing your study up, you actually acknowledge like, hey, I know one of these people, or I found these participants through my own personal network. That signals to a reader like, hey, this is people that she might have known, and then I had a snowball sample from there. So I don't see that as an issue. Oh yeah, definitely Mensa, Dr. Mensa for sure. And so Shirley, here are some folks that you should consider. So Alexis Riley, Fatima, Mensa, definitely. I forgot about Mensa. Yes, Dr. Mensa for sure at Columbia. These are definitely some folks to be reading. And I feel like the study might have focused on college students too. But look at Nicole Joseph and they wrote a literature review in AER, a Review of Education and Research, Shirley, that might be helpful too. I just don't remember. It could be student focused, so forgive me if it's like student specific or black women college student specific, but I thought it was about teachers too. But look at some of their work too. I know Nicole's work is on math educators, and so some of her work might be helpful. And then also Toya Frank might be another one. Again, they're focused on like STEM ed, but even then, you might see some of that work that might overlap with yours. Oh, perfect. You got to meet them at NARS. Yep. That's cool stuff. Yeah, I presented at NARS some years ago. That's good stuff. And yes, indeed. Definitely Team Goings for sure. I appreciate you, Ms. Jesselyn. Yes, we do see your messages. Yes, we definitely see yours. And we see them and we respond. So thank you so much. It helps us know, like, we don't want to make sure, we don't want to burden somebody with these texts, but if you like them, let us know. That's cool. Yes, it is great to go to these conferences and meet the authors and researchers in person. I'm going to tell y'all a story about what happened one time when I did this, and this is why it's important knowing people's work. So one time I was at a conference and I was at a roundtable session. And during the roundtable, what ends up happening is, as part of the roundtable session, where all the authors talk about their work, and I go to talk about my work, and then as I'm talking about my work on Black male adult learners, talking about things, there's a woman sitting next to me, and we're talking, and then she asks a question, and then she says what her name was, and I was like, her name is Dr. Yolanda Celia Ruiz, and she was like, this is my name. I was like, Dr. Celia Ruiz, who wrote the paper in 2013 about black women re-entry into college. She's like, you know my work like that? I said, yeah, I read all your stuff. Next you know, she just wrote down, here's my number, here's my email. Make sure you reach out so that I can be of support to you, just like that. So this is why I go into these conferences. I had been reading her work. I didn't know her personally at all, but sometimes you just run into these folks. You just never know. And this is why, too, even as a student, citing people's work, like especially when you get your work published, is important. Because I remember one of my first peer-reviewed journal articles that I wrote, I cited a couple of like early career scholars, and I saw them at like a networking event at a conference, and they were like, hey, Goings, you wrote that piece about black male teachers? Like, yeah. And they're like, yo, that was the first time my work ever got cited. And so like, imagine like you meet somebody that you were, they're working foreign jurors, you were citing their work, and the fact that you became the first person to cite their work, that's extremely helpful to these scholars in their careers, as faculty members in particular. When, one of the ways we get evaluated is on the impact of our work, and one of the ways we show impact is through citations. And so all that to say, like, going to these conferences and being part of the community is really important. I just will say on the flip side, you might meet these people that you revere in the literature and they don't add up to what they are in person. So just know that is a thing too. So don't be, just recognize that can happen. I've seen that. I've had that experience as well. So it goes both ways. Oh, perfect. Congratulations on presenting at AERA this year. Yes, and was it in LA, California, right? Yeah. Congrats on that. I usually will present, but not this year. Oh, and Shirley, here's another researcher, Hammond. So maybe look at Black Women Teachers, Hammond, and see what you find on like Google Scholar. Might be a place for you. Perfect. And I'm glad you all connected in the comments and chat. So Shirley says, thanks, Lily, for the comments about the scholars. Oh, glad. I'm glad that the content got you at the right time. Perfect. Oh, you had the same instance with Dr. Minson? Okay, definitely. I met Dr. Minson too. I've had a similar experience. She's super phenomenal and really supportive too. And yes, I agree. The beauty of networking is amazing. I will say though, some of the lessons I learned with networking that might be helpful is like when you're networking, think about what opportunity can I provide the person versus trying to get something back in return. Because I found like the more that you be able to help other people, it comes around twofold. So it might not come around right at that point, but maybe later on you might need to make a call or something like that. And they remember like, oh, that person helped me out. I had no problem doing it. And so like one of the instances I did is that when I was a student, like actually my first year as a faculty member, there was a scholar who was endowed chair, somebody I really looked up to in my research area. And he had talked about, research opportunities and like being, strategic. And then what ends up happening was that I went to ARA. Actually, I went to the ARA and they have these roundtables with journal editors. And it just so happened this particular year, I went to the roundtable session and was an editor from a journal. And I was talking about the work that I do. And he was like, oh, you should consider submitting a special issue for the journal based on your topic. And so instead of like having that opportunity for myself, what I did is I went to the senior scholar. I said, hey, I got this opportunity from this journal. Will you be the second co-editor with me on this special issue? And then we'll go get, top scholars to write in the special edition for us. And he was like, sure, no problem. So we did that special issue. And then what he said, all right, let's take it up a notch because he's very much forward thinking. And so what he did, it was like, look, let's do a webinar hosted by the journal where we can bring the scholars to talk about their work and have an open forum. And that thing went over so well. Like that journal was like, hey, can y'all do another one of those special issues for us? Because they had so much interaction and excitement about the work because we were able to put it all together. But that was through a collaborative thing. But it started out with me finding an opportunity to present to the scholar and then him be like, okay, cool. And then him joining me versus me saying, hey, can you put me on with a project? It goes very different sometimes when you come with an opportunity. And Shirley, Lily saying you're welcome for the citations and the congrats. And let's see. And for my folks who talked about and had a question around, I think it was Alex who had a question around being a new student. Jesselyn in the comments wrote, for the new doctoral learner, I also recommend the book by Gerald Graff and Kathy Brickenstein, They Say, I Say, The Moves That Matter Academic Writing. I remember someone assigned that to me as a student. I didn't read that book, but I heard great things about it. So I recommend that too. I had a couple of professors actually recommend that over the years. So that might be a great book. Oh, and Jesselyn says, get the 6th edition. That's great. At some point, probably my next book will be for first-year doc students. I think the next one. I've done a book for the dissertation writers. I've done a book for a different book. So I have a book that I wrote for you all as a doctoral student called 14 Secrets. And then I wrote a book for faculty because a lot of faculty don't know how to chair doctoral students. And so I have a system that I created and that I implement with my own doctoral students and that I teach to other faculty called the Finish System. And so I wrote this book for faculty. This came out in 2025 in February. So a year ago from now, it came out. A year ago, actually from today, I think about it, came out. The Finish System came out. I think the next one might be for like how to take advantage, how to really succeed as a doctoral student. I think that probably is the next one. Because there's something missing in what happens. Because even if you have an intro to doctoral studies class, there's so much to it. It's all the hidden curriculum around how do I get opportunities? How do I do the conference thing? How do I get publication opportunities? How am I going to navigate this working full time, knowing that a lot of these opportunities get sometimes sent to full-time students versus those who work full-time and do school part-time. So there's a whole bunch of that. And so maybe my next book might be on that, along with like academic writing and some of those things. Any other questions before we wrap up today's episode? Again, I want to say thank you all so much for dropping in. I love this interaction. Again, I hope for folks that aren't part of our community, make sure that you join in with us, and I look forward to supporting you all as you all get your dissertations done. But I'll take any last questions before we wrap up for tonight. And make sure y'all share this out. The way this kind of the algorithm goes with these types of videos, the more it gets shown and shared, the more likely it is to get to more doc students. And so if you could do me a favor, just share it with people, it'd be extremely helpful. Here's another researcher, and I'll bring it up so you can see it here. Shirley, one more. Brian Brown, his work is awesome in research about culture responsive and science ed. So even again, sometimes by seeing like what can you peel or what citations are they using to maybe inform some of the work that you're doing. And it might just be a quick search just to see what you find, and then you can kind of see if it's relevant to what you're trying to do, Shirley, and then you go from there. All right, good people. Well, with that said, I'll let that be the last comment for tonight. But if you are, again, looking to join us at our upcoming workshop we're having on the literature review, you can grab your ticket by going to www.thedonedissertation.com/workshop to grab your ticket. I look forward to seeing you all there. And if you're someone at a point where you are trying to finish your dissertation and you have been stuck and you need a system, a proven process, and a methodology to help get you to that next level and get you done, I would invite you to apply to work with us in our Velocity coaching program. And you can learn more about that by going to www.velocitydissertation.com. If you just go to our main website, click on the student tab, you can get to our website from there as well. We want to make sure that you all have the insight and support that you need to get your dissertation done. And with that said, my name is Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation. And again, I want to say thank you all so much for tuning in. And until next time, I wish you all a Done Dissertation. Y'all have a good night and have a great semester. Take care. And Shirley, you can stay on for a second. I want to give you the link before you jump off.